of Commerce, Mr. Kiprono Kitonyi, will also give some remarks, who has a Global Executive MBA from the Strathmore and Columbia University Business School. And he's also the CEO of Capital Real-Time Media. From our program, we'll also have panel discussions on the reports and just how public's participation has been going on in the country in general. And in the panel discussions, we'll have representatives from the Kenya National Chamber of Commerce and Industry, which is a membership-based trade support institution working to protect commercial and industry interests of Kenyan business community. And a key important point to note is that they are represented in all the 47 counties. Another organization that will be represented in the panel discussions will be the Health Rights Advocacy Forum, which is a non-governmental organization that works through strategic partners to advocate for health as a fundamental human right in Kenya. You might be wondering why Health Rights Advocacy Forum and the Chamber came to work together. All these organizations are affected by the budgets. Health Rights Advocacy Forum is affected by the budget because they advocate for health rights, and without a budget, we can't. Without them engaging in the budget-making process, sufficient funds cannot be put in the health sector. And Kenya Chamber of Commerce is also affected by the budget because they are in the trade sector. And we all know that the trade sector is an important economy, which ensures that our country is running. So they are an important part in the budget-making process. The Council of Governors will also be represented in the panel discussions, and it's composed of all the 47 governors, and its main function is to promote visionary leadership. So despite us just talking about public participation, we all know that we have 47 counties, 47 plus 1 governments, and they all have to be represented here for our discussions to be credible. That's why we have the Council of Governors in the panel discussions, and the Intergovernmental Relations Technical Committee, which acts as the national and county government coordinating summits. The Intergovernmental Relations Technical Committee is important because they ensure that the national and the county governments relations are in order, and that the two governments are working together to just ensure the benefits of the country. Another organization that will be represented in the panel discussions is the Commission on Revenue Allocation, which recommend the basis of equitable sharing of revenue raised nationally between national and county governments and among county governments. So CRA is important in this discussion because despite us advocating for more funds to be put in the various sectors that we advocate for, CRA now looks at how allocation will be undertaken. So they are an important organization to be represented here. I want to once again thank those who made the day possible. That is the Center for International Private Enterprise, CIPE. They were able to fund us to be able to just make this event a success. HERAF, that is the Health Rights Advocacy Forum, they and the Kenya National Chamber of Commerce and Industry worked together to just ensure that this event was a success. And I would also like to thank the staff of Intercon, because I know we wouldn't be taking our breakfast if it wasn't for them. So thank you all for coming. And the purpose of this meeting is just to launch the report on public participation through the CBEF, which outlines the extent to which citizens are involved in the budget-making process in Kenya. This was a research that was conducted by a consultant, and we are now launching the report just to find out the extent to which citizens are engaged in the budget-making process. My hope that this meeting will be kind of like a catalyst And we won't stop here, so that it will lead us to advocate for establishment of county budget and economic forums in all the 47 counties, and just ensure that citizens participate meaningfully in the budget making process in the country. So I'd like to wish everyone an interesting day, and I would go straight to our first agenda on our programs. I hope we all have programs. So I've already made the welcome remarks, karibuni, and now there's a documentary that was done. So I'll just play it. Can it be seen? I think the lights are blurring the image.
Government, or when you are developing the policies now to implement the constitution, the legislations which were passed. When you developed the constitution and adopted the constitution, we did agree that there is nothing for us without us participating. And therefore, when the government, or when you are developing the policies now to implement the constitution, the legislations which were passed through the parliament.
The Public Finance Management Act 2012, Section 137, is well stipulated that on the event of a devolution, as soon as the governor comes in the office, I think within 100 days, the establishment of County Budget Economic Forum is one of their key tasks.
A recently completed study on public participation in the budget-making process in selected counties in Kenya established that information on CBEF, or even a mention of how public participation was being achieved, was non-existent in over 62% of the counties.
I looked at 11 counties that I studied in detail. Out of the 11 counties, 7 had CBEF. At least there was a documentation of a CBEF in place, and it was reported that is either used to in one way or the other. But the extent to which these have been operational or are functional was another issue, because it appears that is only one county, Kwale County, where it's very pronounced. Given that the CBEF is a very important component of public participation, as SIPE, we wanted to understand the status, the state of play of CBEF. We wanted to understand, since the passing of the new constitution, how much has the CBEF been operationalized?
The extent to which this structure has been operationalized still remains low.
The Budget and Economic Forum, it anticipated that there will be a formalized system or a mechanism that would bring all the stakeholders in one round table discussion, so that each stakeholder is able to bring the views of the constituents and be able to take them back, they're able to disparate them, and that's what was anticipated. And what we've realized is that that is not the reality on the ground for various reasons.
I think it has not been fulfilled in most of the counties, because we feel the county, most of county governments leave out private sectors in terms of facilitating the whole process of defining the agenda for the counties.
One of the challenges was the resource constraint. Budgets are prepared, but there is a very minimal or nothing is allocated for to facilitate public participation.
There has been issues of lack of information. Most of the business communities only get to know about public engagement in less than 1 week.
One thing that is clear is the need to improve citizen participation, especially with regard to providing oversight on projects and budgets so as to promote transparency and accountability in financial management activities of the counties.
The laws that brought this institution of the County Budget Economic Forum was rather loose. And maybe one of the issues that could be looked at is how we can tighten legislation such that we make CBEF a must and not a maybe.
We need to create what we call sub-counties CBEF ambassadors, the ones who will be able to engage all different categories, be it Juakali, be it the matatu terminals, the operators, be it the wholesalers, be it the retailers, so that they really understand that they have a tech to discuss on the development agenda of a county.
The way to improve this from our side and what we are doing, we need to educate residents or the citizens to understand the concept of public participation. What does it mean? And what are the legal documents which back public participation? So that when the residents will be able to hold their governments or the county government accountable from an informed perspective.
Our first goal was just to create awareness, and that really is the way, one of the way forward that we want to follow. And we believe that this is a good start to this process.
That was just a teaser to make you, to jog your mind on the discussions that are going to take place. Right now, I'd like to call upon Kennedy Okumu, who is the research consultant who did the study. We can clap for him.
Thank you. Okay. Good morning, everyone. I want to present to you the findings of the study that we conducted from October last year, which is basically on the extent to what public participation, citizens are involved in budget making process in Kenya, specifically focusing on how citizens have been involved through the County Budget and Economic Forum, which is a tool that is envisioned to facilitate consultation between county government and other stakeholders. Just a moment. So, okay, thank you. Just as a background to the study, we know that public participation is a national value that is enshrined in our constitution. So, you know, the spirit that we all need to undertake in the issue of, in financial matters and management of other affairs, there is need, the Constitution clearly provides that citizens should be, should participate. And this is further specifically provided for through the Public Finance Management Act of 2012, which set aside a structure for which counties can be engaged in with the various stakeholders, the business community, civil society organizations, faith-based organizations, all of them, how they can engage. And this is the structure that we are talking about, is the county budget and economic. The main purpose of this study was to basically to establish the extent to which CBEF have been operationalized, and by looking at how citizens have been engaged in the budget making process through the same structure, the county budget and economic forum. So basically, we sought to look specifically at how have the CBS counties operationalized county budget and economic forums, looked at what mechanisms, if the CBF is not there, what are the alternative structures or mechanisms that are being used, and also look at, you know, what is the level of participation in terms of citizen engagement. So basically, we sought to look at how citizens are involved and how this will enable consultation around the budget making process. Why the study at this particular time? One of the things that we need, you know, we believe that this is going to enhance better understanding on how citizens are involved in the budget making process through the CBF. It will also enhance accountability and transparency in public finance management matters. And we also expect that you know, the information on public on CBF is scanty. It's not, the extent to which they have been operationalized is not fully known. So we expect to face some information and knowledge gap that will call various stakeholders into action. How was the study conducted? The three approaches were mainly used. That's desk review, which we did the literature on what is the status of the counties. Looked at the face-to-face, did semi-structured questionnaires to people who are purposely sampled. We looked at people who have at least some knowledge of the CBF, and did the focus group discussion and key informant interviews. The response rate was high, and it covered a number of counties that we targeted. Among the counties, we did in 11 counties, and you can see they are spread all over the country. It starts from, we did Kilifi, Kwale, Makueni, Nyeri, Nairobi, Migori, Busia, Kakamega, Nyamira, and Elgeyo Marakwet and Uasin Gishu counties. So that is just to look at what we looked at in details in terms of how do we go about how are citizens engaged in public financial matters across the counties. So some of the findings that were found, I felt that it's important to look at the gender representation in terms of the socioeconomic demographic, and the responses who participated in the study in terms of their occupation. Just basically to look at, you realize that 28%, a small fraction, of the respondents were women, and 72% were men. Again, if you look at the number of people who participated, most of them were mainly from they are self-employed, and they came from business community, those who are running, you know, the business community, which is about 41%. Then we have about 26% who are employed by other agencies, which include the county government, the civil society organization in those respective counties, and all that. So if now, if in terms of the CBF, we asked the counties, the respondents in those counties, whether a CBF exists or not. And the findings I can see, about 44% said it is there. So there's actually some good work going on in the counties in terms of how citizens have been engaged in these activities. But again, there is also a good proportion, about 36% of the respondents, who are not aware, and 17% say they are not. They don't know about the CBEF, that the CBEF does not exist in that county. A small proportion did not respond to that question. Now, this is basically now looking at the available literature on what is there. You find that 15 of the 47 counties have a documentation of the CBEF. And if you look at the structures that others have come up with public participation, and is a good about 62% public participation legislation that they are using to engage. And okay, a number of them, about 18, that information could not easily be accessible. You should note that one of the limitations that was on this study was the aspect of time and resource constraints, which we needed to deliver within a specific time, and then we could not cover all the counties. Hence, they need to look for other sources of information that can be done. But now, looking at now the counties that we studied, 7 out of the 11 counties had CBEF. And 11 of them had public participation. All of them had public participation laws. So this speaks to you that at least there are efforts that are being made to include people in the citizens in the budget making process, and involving them in terms of how to get their inputs and enrich the budget making process throughout. However, if you look at the 18, it might not, the information might be there, but based on the available literature, that was not, it could not be easily be accessed. So again, we can, they might be more, they might be less, but the interesting thing is that at least public participation laws have been enacted in all the 11 counties. And a number of them, about 62% of them, have the laws of all the countries. Now, if you look at the level of citizen participation, okay, why CBEFs have not been established? There is citizens were just, this is the feedback that came directly from the citizen, the respondents that were interviewed. And one of the emerging things was that in some counties, there is no political goodwill. Then there's also low levels of awareness on the CBEF. Many people, I think, in all the counties that we went, without even just talking about public participation, is only one county that it came out strongly, that, before you ask about CBEF, they'll tell you, we do participation through this particular structure called the County Budget and Economic Forum, which was Kwale County. The rest you had to go into deep, which now points to what the level of awareness. Then the feeling that citizens, are represented. Those representative elected leaders know the needs of they know and understand the needs of the people. Then a feeling of now, in one case, it emerged that why do you need a CBEF when we have a public participation law act that is facilitating, is serving as well. So that's another feeling why there's no CBEF, because there are other options that where people are engaging. Then I looked at, again, the level of participation. A big proportion that was very unsatisfactory. If you look at about 63% say that the level of participation of citizens was not satisfactory. Only a small proportion, 15.6, said that it was satisfactory. I also looked at how the extent to which stakeholders have been involved in this budget making process, and the finding revealed that a wide range of stakeholders are involved. Looking at those who agree, 14% agree, but again, a good proportion strongly disagree. That's 18%, 18.2, and around 37% disagree that this is not the, not a wide range of stakeholders are involved. This speaks to how inclusive the CBEFs, the counties, in terms of involving, engaging citizens in the process. Then, again, in terms of the effectiveness, there's a proportion. There was a disagreement that it was not very effective, and a good proportion, a small, about 20% say that it was effective. Reasons were cited. Among the reasons is that, the late sharing of the agenda, last minute invitation, and the manner in which, citizens are invited, and then, even, invite people, the relevant people do not turn out, and then the technicality of the documents, the budget documents that are there. I also looked at what are the other mechanisms that citizens are using in the budget making process, and for public participation. And most of the counties, as I said, all of them had public participation laws, which also points out to how they are also engaged. The others, have actually institutionalized the use of ward level of village structures that are facilitating the participation. But also there are these are mainly initiatives initiated by the county government. Citizens are there are also mechanisms that were proposed by, that are being done by civil society organizations, and these include, the use of citizens consultation stakeholder, which is very prominent in Kwale, and is gotten the recognition of being engaged in the process. And then citizens developing alternative budgets. When the county shares their budgets, then they can also make input. This, to some extent, has been employed in a number of counties. That's Kwale, still that is done. It's done in Nyeri, where civil society are doing that, and also in Migori and Kakamega. Now, if you look at the proposed mechanism, they propose that there are also other channels, and we need to embrace the use of digital platforms. Public deliberation was mentioned by some of the respondents, that this can be a very fruitful and useful process that involves. Now, in terms of the impacts, if you look at the impacts that have been achieved through public participation, so far, citizens feel, since they are involved in the process, there's increased ownership of the county project. This was very prominent in Elgeyo Marakwet. They are saying they are seeing things that were never there before, being consulted, being involved, and then moving forward. There's also increased demand for transparency and accountability, as well as networking among the civil societies that are involved there. Then a number of challenges were also cited, that were very prominent was inadequate access to information and the citizen involvement. You find in some counties, they invited the citizens, they are not playing the right role. Then there's a time allocation, which was very prominent in some of the counties. There is a vested interest, and there was an aspect of vested interest from various stakeholders who want to push their own agenda, and as well as citizens' apathy, as a way that now limits this. Then there was an aspect of the language barrier, where the documents, when the documents are technical, then the language also needs to be simplified and also done in a local language that can be understood by all, as well as using the right medium for communication and mobilizing participants to come to these events. One of the some few lessons were learned from the process is that greater citizens' engagement leads to increased ownership. There is the aspect of, if we do the budget right, then the other things can follow. If we ensure we allocate the budgets again in the rightful way, then the citizens will be able to, to reap bigger benefits, and especially if they're involved. Then building networks. We noted that in counties where civil society are organized, then they are better able to engage the county governments in terms of giving issues and impacting on the budget positively, rather than where they are going as individuals. Then, again, looking at the models that have been used, there are counties that have come up with customized legislation. Elgeyo Marakwet County has the Equitable Distribution Act that says that there is every ward will get this, and then that law, which was actually said that is a good practice for them to see that nobody is left out in terms of the resources that are allocated and the inputs that goes into the entire process. Then, in terms of finally, I come to the recommendations, and if one of the things is that there seem to be a gap between what the law says and how they have been implemented, and probably there's a need to tighten, to review the act and ensure there is the aspect of is complied with, implemented, and also aligned to the other legislations that talk about public participation. Need to strengthen citizen participation. Need to strengthen capacity of counties to engage with citizens. Regular feedback is one of the things that was pointed out. And then the bottom-up approach where citizens are being involved in the process. Finally, there's need to simplify budget document to be written in a manner that can easily be understood by all. So with this, thank you for your time.
Thank you, Kennedy, for summarizing almost 30-page report into the few slides that we've seen. Let's give him a round of applause again. So from the report, we can see there are varied areas where CBEF has been formed, and there are other areas where it hasn't been formed. So there is a public participation law in several counties, but still citizens feel they are not involved. So the information from the report is quite varied, and let's go to the panel discussion and get more information before we start giving our inputs. I know we are all itching with inputs on everything that we have seen, from the documentary to the presentation made. So let's just jump down, and then after the panel discussions, we'll have now input from all of us. I'd like to welcome the very talented Yvonne Okwara, who is a media personality whose body of work runs from powerful interviews, talk shows, and news presentation. And she'll be our moderator for the panel discussions that we are going to have. So she'll be able to invite the panelists who will lead the discussions. Let's give a round of applause for Yvonne Okwara.
Good morning, everybody. How are you today? All right, it's very good to see you. Thank you very much for making the time. We'll make a panel session very quick. We'll just get some summary statements from all of the members of the panel, and then we'll open it up in case there's any questions or comments, but we'll keep it really brief because we're running a little behind with the schedule. I'm happy to be here. So as we get the microphones ready, let me call up the members of the panel this morning. We have Patrick Nyangweso, who's from the Kenya National Chamber of Commerce and Industry. As I call your name, please come up and have a seat up here right next to me. Edward Munene from the Health Rights Advocacy Forum. We'll also have Kennedy Okumu, the consultant from whom you've just heard, to just come up and join us here as well. From the Commission on Revenue Allocation, we have John Mose, who's a senior analyst. So let's have this. All gentlemen, no gender balance, it is fine. I will represent, except I'm not a member of the panel. However, I will mention that the representative we had from the CRA couldn't make it, and so she sent Mose in her place. I'm passionate about gender issues. But we will have a great discussion nonetheless. Gentlemen, Gentlemen, it's good to have you. So I'll just do some quick round. And I think perhaps we can begin. There's one person missing, and I am very sorry. I sincerely apologize for that oversight. We need to have the CEO of IBEC here with us. Yes. Yes, sorry. Yes, please do come up here. Thank you. I was wondering why I was missing somebody here with us. Karibu sana. Our apologies. So I think to make up for that, we can start with you on the effectiveness of public participation. We've seen from Kennedy's report, it's working in some places. There's definitely other counties it needs to be enhanced. But we were talking a little bit earlier with you about how effective this process is. It's one thing to have representatives there. It's yet another thing to ensure that they are engaged in line with the principles of public participation. Yes, inform, listen, engage, and then find some consensus. So talk to us about how we can make it more effective.
Thank you, Yvonne. My name is Patrick Karanja. I think that didn't come out clearly, and I work for the Intergovernmental Relations Technical Committee. Now, I think first of all, I would like to start by us appreciating that at least as far as the legal framework is concerned here in our country, we have all the necessary laws that require public participation. The Constitution leads us by telling us that it is a value of governance, and then the other statutes that were developed, all of them have an element of public participation. So from the very beginning, we realized that the intention of our country is that there must be public participation. And I also want, just for the information of this group, to note that in the last National and County Government Coordinating Summit, there was a resolution that all counties must take this matter seriously, and that they should start finding a way in which we can have structured and sustainable public participation, rather than in some cases what we may call a tokenism participation. Back to Yvonne's question, what can we do to make the public participation more effective? The consultant has given us some of the reasons why public participation is not effective, and what we need to start doing is probably to start seeing how we can reverse that so that we can make it more attractive. But specifically, there are key issues that must be put in place. When we talk about public participation, or especially related to a technical area like budget or the county integrated development plans, how are we going to structure that participation so that the general mwananchi can effectively participate? We all should recognize that we all do planning at our own family level, at our own individual level. So budgeting principles are known to all of us, but it's just how we need to ensure that the same are incorporated so that the people can participate effectively. Then the social, cultural environment you're undertaking that exercise, that also must be respected. There are some cultures who have their own way of doing things, and those must be respected if people have to participate effectively. Socially, there are some of this participation. When you call people to come and do public
demand or hold the county government and the national government to account, that may slip, it may not be a reality. And therefore, it's important as we talk of the capacity. One of the areas that we need to see is to enable the public to understand what are those legal policies, what does the policy say, what does the Constitution say about public participation, to ensure that when they are dealing with the government, they are doing it from an informed perspective. The other thing, as you have said, that this budget making process, initially we viewed it as technical, and we left it to the technical people, those who have studied economics, those who have studied finance. But I'm glad to say that there has been quite a lot of improvement because of capacity enhancement. We have seen more organizations or more individuals at the civil society organizations taking keen interest in the way the budget making process takes place, and we have seen a lot of participation. They are willing to identify. The challenge has remained that the policy documents that guide the constitution, that guide the budget making process, these fiscal papers, the annual operations plans and the budgets that have been developed, they have not been readily available for interrogations. But if that would be readily available, then we are talking of access to information must be very crucial. And that is one of the role of the civil society, must demand that information be made available so that when you are invited to participate in the to go and there's a budget here in Forum next week, for example, in Nyeri, but are the budget documents ready? And therefore, they feel that it is all of the civil society.
Into Kiswahili and perhaps other languages that would enable the citizens to better participate. Let's hear from the Commission on Revenue Allocation, because you set up guidelines for citizen participation in the county budget process. What's your assessment of how this has been taken up, and where do you think the challenges are that we can start to sort of ensure guidelines are followed, implemented, and met, and the dream of citizen participation fully being realized?
So first my name, then the issues of budgeting process will be seamless in terms of, you remember when devolution started, a lot of budgets were not being approved in time. And some of this was because of ineffective public participation. And that is what actually CBEF is an organ economic sense. Of course, there would be one of cases where this will be necessary. But across the country, even Nairobi, that is very well connected in terms of communication, you will find that for a forum to be held in such a
which is supposed to be done to the citizens. If you check Article 196, Article 10, Article 232 of the Kenyan Constitution, emphasizes so much on public. That is the time when we seriously need to mobilize all entities to engage the county government leadership. If you check Public Finance Management Act 2012, it outlines the principles where citizens need to engage the respective county governments, both in budget making processes and discussion of financial management. Remember, the CBEF is not just about budget making process. It is an avenue to discuss about county development plans, budget making process, and county financial management strategies. So when you are a representative, I've seen most of even those established CBEF. I used to be one, for your information. Even before I joined Kenya National Chamber of Commerce, I was appointed as a CBEF member in Kisumu County. It was a amorphous body, kind of. You go there, the PFM Act stipulates that it is the governor who should really sit there and chair the CBEF. But most of the times, the people who are selected to participate in this, in the name of representatives, they don't give opportunities to the public to give their submissions, for the public to share their inputs. When we talk of county fiscal strategy paper, the public are not given sufficient time to go through and confirm whether their inputs were really captured before it is taken even to the county assembly in the name of budget estimates. Even when you come to now the budget sack of May, between the 30th of April and end of May, where now the county budget committee needs now to engage the public so that they debate on the draft budget. The public are not given sufficient time. Most of the times, it is amorphous. Yeah.
So time being an issue to allow them to make the submissions. And I like that you said that there's different avenues of doing so, written submissions and public participation as well. And you've raised some fundamental issues. So in the interest of time, because we're falling behind, yes, and we have the PS here, yes, and expecting perhaps the CS1 well.
Yes.
I would like us to close the discussion, and perhaps, Kennedy, that would be a good place to put it. How do we start to action this report? We have stakeholders who are seated here. We have members of the business community represented by the chamber. We've got various government agencies and commissions that are here, civil society. So talk to us about what are some of those things we can do going forward. Do we need perhaps to start talking to each other more? Should we be talking about forming a group, a working group between all of these organizations where Patrick can talk about these are some of the challenges that we're facing, where the CRA can come in and say, look, these are our guidelines, this is how best we think we can do it, where we can start to hear from Patrick that.
Across the board. I'm looking at Kwale County where we went, we actually found when they are doing the forum, and I was wondering, more than 300 people in the village. If you have to do the reimbursement, you have to do the lunch, you know, you'll have nothing for development projects or implementation. So what do we learn from ourselves? What are the gaps that we need to fill, and how do we ensure? That starts with us here, and the civil society, the government representative, both from the national and the county. I think the right step is now to start reflecting on how we have performed in this. This will give us a head start in the next phase that we are going.
Yeah, phase
Thank
2
you.
of devolution. All right, thank you very much. Do we have very brief, please, 1 minute with you, Patrick, and then Edward,
Yeah.
as we close.
Yeah, Madam, there's something which I forgot. I think we have not addressed the most challenging issues. Dominancy during these forums. If you check the participation level, 72% by men, then only 28. It means it is not even gender sensitive during these forums. Number 2, do we give the public opportunity? Look, for example, yesterday's paper, Nyeri has published, they are calling for county finance bill discussion. And it is on 12. They have only given the public 7 days. How many can access to the papers? Do we really access to the public places? That says the public that will have a public forum on this particular date.
Okay.
The last one, feedback mechanism. We need to re-emphasize on this. If you participated in last year's public forum, do you get feedback from the county governments when they present even the budget outlook paper? Do they take care of your interest? Participation and oversight authority by the county assemblies. I want to pray that when we come to September, we'll get a representative of county assemblies who take initiative to engage the business community so that their interests and priorities are taken care of when they are doing budget formulation and making process. Thank you.
Thank you, Patrick.
Yes, I just want to add that as we engage in the process, we need to also to look at the sectorial working groups. For example, the people working in the education sector, the health sector, the agricultural sector. I feel it would be more useful when we have technical working groups that are based on sectors so that they can be able to interrogate deeply on those policies that have been put in place, the strategies, and also the resources that have been put in those sectors. That way then we can be able to team up from various sectors now we form the county budget forum, representing all the sectors of the economy in that county. Thank you very much.
Right. Thank you, Edward. Thank you all, gentlemen, for doing this. I think, thank you very much. The outcome of that is to start to reflect, and perhaps for each of us to start to think of what we can do to contribute towards making citizen participation more vibrant, more effective, and to have greater impact, and how we can each work with the county government, the national government, and all of the stakeholders in this process, and indeed make it more inclusive, and perhaps sectorial working groups. That would be a great one. Members of the business community, those working with health, those working with education, those working with, water and sanitation, a number of those. Thank you all, gentlemen, for your conversation this morning. Please, a round of applause for that. And as they leave, I don't know if there's any burning question before we move this along, because it would be good to hear from the persons that have made this possible. Just a moment, if there's any, one or two, I think, maximum, that we can pass the mic around. Lady in red.
Good morning. My name is Sheila. I want to thank everyone for making this possible. I represent youth and women in various counties, and I'm just interested in the findings first. The findings shows that 28% were women and 72, something like that, were men. So I just want to know what informed the percentage of the respondents so that we know how to engage with the people back on the ground. It's very, very important. And two, I'd also love to know the age differences. Is it that the young people participating in this, or the old, or what is the age bracket of these people who the researcher reached out to, so that when we engage our people back in the ground, we know how to well tailor our message. Thank you very much.
Yeah, an important question. Maybe Kennedy can answer that very quickly. I think the disaggregation of the data in terms of gender and age as well. And then I think of that we can sort of, it's a great question.
Thank you for the question. First of all,
Blue? Yeah, last one, and then we can carry on with the program. Thanks.
Okay, thank you very much. My name is Mary Juruga. I represent UNDP. I'd like to comment on the issue of civic education, because if the public do not understand their role, they definitely will not participate. You know, you'll have public participation apathy. You go for forums and they'll not respond. I know last year the Ministry of Devolution actually launched some civic education curriculum to just promote the issue of public participation, knowing their role. If they are not educated, if they do not know that they need to engage, you not fight them. Then the other thing is that is hindering effective public participation in budget making process is the issue of connecting the dots. The budget comes from the wider from a wider picture of the county integrated development plan. So that is the one that informs the annual development plan. And then the budget now speaks to the plan that the county wants to do. So if the public do not have that, if they didn't participate in the CIDP making process, or they were not educated of what it entails, their public participation in the budget may not be effective. So that needs to be checked as well. Finally, as donors, we are interested in promoting county-to-county learning. So the good models we are hearing about, for example, Makueni, we hear it's very good in public participation. Those are the models we would like to pick and promote, you know, county-to-county learning. So we hope in the next phase of devolution, instead of having too many overseas trips, we can have more of internal trips where counties will learn from one another. Thank you.
Yeah, important, and thank you very much. A round of applause to our panelists and to those wonderful comments that are coming in, county-to-county learning. I think that's great, and perhaps that's a great outcome of this study. Thank you all for that. Please stay with us. We're here to officially, properly launch this study, but I'll invite Ben Kiragu from CBEF, whom we are so grateful for, the Center for International Private Enterprise, who funded this exercise. Ben?
Thank you. I'll try to be brief. First of all, as CBEF, we are very glad that this ceremony is actually taking place. It's been a long road of working on this report. But just to let you know a bit about CBEF, CBEF is a US-based nonprofit organization. We are affiliated to the US Chamber of Commerce. And as you know, Americans are big on democracy. And as CBEF, we really exist to strengthen democracy. And this we do through working with non-state actors and facilitating market-oriented reform. And really, when we talk about non-state actors, It is working with the chambers of this world, like Kenya Chamber, working with HERAF and other such institutions, because we believe that they have a role to play. Listening to the discussion today, I'm personally very excited, because in our understanding of democracy, that becomes our output from today, because we know that this is a long process that we need to continue engaging. As CBEF, therefore, we are very excited to be involved in this process. We are excited to contribute a small part in the big, long journey that we need to take in this. And therefore, I want to thank you. I want to acknowledge Mr. Mika Powon, the PS of State Department of Devolution. I know him in another life where we used to work in the cotton subsector. Therefore, I'm privileged to meet him again. Thank you for coming. I also acknowledge the presence of the chamber chair, and we are thankful that you made the time to be with us. Therefore, mine is brief, is to say we want to work with government. We see ourselves more as partners, and we are willing to play the small role that we can play. And we are thankful that and privileged that we can have this launch today. Thank you very much all for coming. But I cannot finish without acknowledging my boss, who is with us here today. I want to acknowledge Lars Benson, who is our regional director for Africa. So thank you very much, and I wish you a good launch. Thank you.
Another round of applause for Mr. Ben Kirago, please. And thank you to him and to CBEF for this one. Thank you for recognizing, indeed, Bona PS, we thank you for making the time. You were here in good time. We thank you for that, and thank you for your patience and staying through with us. We also thank you, Bona Chair of the Kenya National Chamber of Commerce and Industry. Thank you for being here. We'll be hearing from the Chair of the Chamber in just a moment, but first let's hear from HERAF, that's the Health Rights and Advocacy Forum. Lucy Simiu is here to make a few remarks.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning. We should be happy that this report is being launched after a long struggle. So I'm standing here on behalf of Dr. Andrew Sule, who's the chair of the board of the Health Rights Advocacy Forum. His shoes are really big, and I hope I can fit in. Now, on behalf of HERAF, I'd like to quote Franklin Roosevelt, who said, "A government can be no better than the public opinion that sustains it." And having had this report, as HERAF, we're making a commitment that we'll continue to follow on the recommendations made by the researcher, and we are hoping to work with government and all other stakeholders. And it's important for us to ask ourselves, how do we move forward? And since HERAF was part of this team, we are proudly saying that we'll do follow up and do what we need to do. And for some of us who may be seated here and wondering, how does the budget making process tie in with the health sector? Because HERAF stands for the right to health for all human beings. Well, unless citizens participate in the budget making process, then it means even their health will not be taken care of. Because when we have citizens engaged as individuals and as communities, then they're able to plan, they're able to budget, they're able to participate in the implementation process, and also to hold governments accountable when it comes to the budget making process. On behalf of HERAF, we want to thank each one of you. We want to thank our partners through this entire process. We want to thank the consultant for doing a commendable job, and we look forward to working with each one of you in future. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Lucy Simiu, for that. And just to remind you that the conversation is still happening on social media. The hashtag to use is CBEFKE. There is Wi-Fi, and the directions or instructions on how to get that are on the wall on either side of the room. CBEFKE is the hashtag on social media. And so at this point, I would like to invite the chair of the Kenya National Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Mr. Kiprono Kitonyi. A round of applause for him. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you very much. Our chief guest this morning, P.S. Pawon, my friend and neighbor, the Lars Benson from SAIP, Ben Kiragu, National Vice Chairman of the Chamber, county chairs from the Chamber, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. The reason I came late this morning has nothing to do with bad manners, but it has everything to do with the fact that we were signing a memorandum of understanding with the Bogota Chamber of Commerce. The leadership of the World Chamber Federation are all in Nairobi for their annual board meeting. And so this is a very busy season for us, because I will be having meetings with several of the chambers from across the globe. So secondly, Ben, I assure you that had you not recognized Lars, I would certainly have done so myself. Let me really appreciate the partnership that we've had with the Center of International Private Enterprise. They have supported us in a wide array of activities. We have had advocacy training, we've had board training on corporate governance, we've done a membership survey, and today we are launching this very important document that really underpins the benefits of devolution in this country. And I think we all agree, devolution is probably one of the most fantastic things that happened in the new constitution. Driving around Kenya today, PS, I can say we are head and shoulders above many other countries in Africa. In many countries in Africa, the economic activity is centered around their capital cities. But in Kenya today, the reality is there's a lot of activity, a lot of progress, and really great things that are happening because of the advent of devolution. As I didn't sit in through the panel discussions, I think I would be the wrong person to actually talk about the report that has been presented to you today. And for that reason, I'll ask you to allow me to break with protocol to allow my Vice Chairman, James Murrell, to just give the Chamber's take on the report that has been presented and how we will take it forward. But before I get off the stage, I want to ask the PS, indeed the national government and the county governments, as I have done today in the Daily Nation and as I did last week in the Standard. Can we please pay suppliers? Can we please pay suppliers? Because honestly speaking, the country, the number of businesses that are in an utmost despair because of lack of payment by the governments, because of lack of payment by the large retailers like Nakumat, the despair is unthinkable. Banks are cracking down, auctioning people. People are not able to pay school fees. They're being thrown out of their premises simply because they are owed money. And we are, as a chamber, going to be advocating very much for a bill that is very punitive for those who don't pay suppliers. So with those few words, let me ask James to just give you a quick summary on the Chamber's take on the report, after which we shall proceed with the program. Thank you and have a great day.
Thank you, Chairman. Bwana PS, Mika Pawon, SAIP leadership, HERAF leadership, COG leadership, chairman of the various counties across the country. Ladies and gentlemen, let me start by giving you a funny story. A group of people were found in a nice restaurant, some adults, drinking themselves, happily enjoying a meal in the evening, and somebody asked them, "What are you doing here? What's the occasion here?" And one of the participants said, "We're celebrating my son's birthday." They asked, "Where's your son?" "He's at home." So, in a lot of times you find the county governments behave pretty much like that. And I say this with due respect. When you have a budget-making process that is supposed to involve everybody, please bring the son to the birthday party. Then you have a reason to say, it is this young man's birthday or this young lady's birthday that we are celebrating. For a long time, and I'll give you my own case story. I got a letter from the county government of Mombasa appointing me to the CBEF of Mombasa. Nice letter, headed paper. I was called for one meeting that aborted. It never took place. I was told it's been cancelled indefinitely. And since then, I've had nothing. And yet, every year, the budget is read, the budget is sent through the process, the budget is approved. Now, I can tell you where my chairman is coming from in this regard, as far as non-payment is concerned. There's a story of the 5 Ps. Poor planning produces poor product. Now, if you don't plan, then you're planning to fail. Now, if you look at the counties, if they don't make their budgets clearly open and known to the subjects, the citizenry of that county, then the only thing you can expect is knee-jerk reactions, knee-jerk budgets, maybe let's try this, let's try this. But if you have a clear budget, it's a roadmap to where you want to go. And so it is incumbent upon counties not only to make it possible for the public to participate, but also to reveal the outcome of this participation and to make the budget known to the public. How will that help? That will help because if you had budgeted a road from here to that end for 100 million, you know it is there. So if contractor A comes and does that road, his money is set aside. It is not to be used for anything else but that road. But this knee-jerk planning is what leads to this. And I'll tell you the irony of all this is you find by extension the government is under-collecting revenue by the same proportion. 30% of what they have not paid to the public is what they are under-collecting. And I can challenge the government to that. Right now, we have upwards of 160 billion owed to the public, to the business community by both county and national governments. Now, 30% of that is supposed to go back to the government, isn't it? Now, if they don't pay, naturally, they are going to under-collect. It is not rocket science. So it would help for the government to actually pay so that they can also be paid their money. That is the message that we must take to the governments, both at county level and at national level. Public participation is another story for all the counties. And I was shocked when I look at the percentages. Poor, in any exam, if you score 25%, you shouldn't even talk about having done that exam. And that's what I see. 11 out of 47 counties have a semblance of a CBEF. Now, if only that translates to about 25%, it's a complete failure. And I think a lot needs to be done. Public participation, for your information, those businessmen and women who are here know that a lot of our governors, and I say this with due respect to them, are notorious for inviting their own friends to a dinner. They talk about it, they take a photograph, they say this was public participation, they go out and pass whatever it is they want to pass. That must stop. And that is why the Kenya National Chamber, on behalf of the business community, is going to pronounce itself in this coming election where we are saying that we must look for pro-business leadership in this country, so that a county or a country that has taxpayers who are happy to be governed, who are happy to pay their taxes, is bound to grow. For a long time, the business community has sat and watched. We slog, we carry the shoulder of this, the responsibility of this country to raise taxes, which taxes we pay to the exchequer. And after that, we have no participation in how that money is going to be spent. I think time has come for us to demand our place in these CBEFs to be able to drive the process of this country forward. Ladies and gentlemen, there are a lot more things that we can talk about, but I think for me, the underlying statement is, let's plan. Let's not just go anywhere. Let's plan to go somewhere. And planning to go somewhere means you sit down, draw a route map, and go in that direction. Don't go to Nairobi, to Kisumu, this direction, if Kisumu is this direction. You're going the wrong way. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you very much, Vice Chair of the National Chamber of Commerce. At this point, I'll ask you, Bwana Chair, to please invite the PS to come in and officially launch this report.
Thank you. Our chief guest, it is my singular honor and privilege to ask you to come and address us and proceed with the launch. Thank you.
The chairman of the chamber, Mr. Kiprono Kiptony, other dignitaries present, government officials, good morning. Let me first and foremost, before we do the official launch of this document, make some few remarks on behalf of my cabinet secretary, the Honorable Kiunjuri, who was to officially do this exercise. He could not be with us because of other government engagements. My name is Mike Kapowon. I am the PS in the State Department of Devolution and the Ministry of Planning and Devolution. It is my pleasure to be here with you this morning and the other partners present in the launch of this beautiful document which has been shared. It's an exciting one. Let me begin by congratulating the Kenya National Chamber of Commerce, the Center for International Private Enterprise, and the Health Rights Advocacy Forum for taking the initiative to conduct this study and sharing the results with us through this public participation launch here today. It is events such as this one that strengthen my conviction that devolution is indeed working. As the chairman has clearly put it, if you move and drive around this country, I just liken to a singer who sang that, count your blessings, name them one by one, and you'll be surprised what God has done for you. If you drive around this country, you may see many things about devolution. Our aspiration as Kenyans, as we adopted the Constitution 2010, was to create a society and government structure through which our individual and collective voices would be heard and our rights respected. Our individual dignity and worth would be acknowledged. The rule of law would be observed. As people, we would willingly fulfill our responsibilities, and the common good would be the concern of all. You will agree with me that that was an honest task indeed. But yet, individually and collectively, as institutions and organized groups, we have taken the task of building the society to which we aspire with unwavering commitment. The report we launched today is an example and demonstration of the commitment which has been exhibited by the various speakers, both in the government sector, the national and the county government, and also the private sector, which has come out very clearly. It is gratifying indeed to note that the members of the private sector and the civil society have come together on their own initiative, and we must applaud the private sector for this, so we can give them a round of applause. To take that the responsibility and contribute to achieving the promise of our Constitution and devolution through commissioning this study, which we are doing today. Better service delivery must continuously seek ways to promote and sustain liaison with the stakeholders. The national government is keen to promote strong relationship between the different spheres of the government and genuine focus on outcome orient relations, seeking to create opportunities for genuine negotiations, the development and the substance of shared vision. It is our firm belief that with the integration of multi-sectoral cooperation such as this among the spheres of government, the tensions that have arisen in this relationship will dissipate, therefore reducing systematic blockages that weaken government's delivery capacity. Finally, the Ministry of Devolution and Planning welcomes such initiatives, and I'm calling upon all other stakeholders in the private sector to emulate what has been done by the private sectors represented here, wishing to partner with the government to ensure that we deliver the promise of devolution in our country. Before, it is patriotic to our country, especially at this moment as we are heading to the August general elections. I'm calling to each one of you living here. There is Kenya beyond August 2017. So I'm calling you, I'm calling upon each one of the representatives from the various corners of this country, as you move from this hall today, to be peace ambassadors of this country. From the sincere bottom of my heart, let us pray for our country, let us be patriotic to our country, and let us be ambassadors of peace. Wherever we will be, let's talk of peace even at this period. So allow me now to move over there so that I officially do the launch of this report.
Thank you very much, Bona PS. Let's have a round of applause for him and for his presence here, and for members of the private sector that are responsible for this. We can ask the representatives of the Chamber of Commerce, of HEREF, yourself, Bona PS. We also have to have you there. The Chamber, HEREF, and CBEF, of course, who made all of this possible. If we can just have you come up to the podium. Do we have everybody? Kennedy, you are missing from this picture. You carried out this study. You have got to be there with everybody else to commission this study and this report. And I believe I will give it to the PS to launch this officially.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, let me take this opportunity to officially launch this report, the study the study of public participation through county budget and economic forum. I now hereby declare officially launched.
Let's have another big round of applause for the work that has been done. The fun. Congratulations to private sector for being in the front in this one. And indeed, Bwana PS for joining us here, and we look forward to more collaborations. Thank you, everyone. Yes. Let's give a warm round of applause to them one last time.
Okay, we'll have a quick vote of thanks from Mary Mudhoni so we can all get on to our tasks.
Good morning, everybody, and indeed this is really, really exciting, and to go down to the counties and ensure that there's true public participation from the right people. I'm calling upon the women and youth, please let us meet down there so that we can know what is happening. Thank you so much, Bwana PS. All protocols observed. It's indeed a pleasure that you took your time from your busy schedules to ensure that you're here with us this morning. The private sector and the government work hand in hand so that you can see that things are moving in the right direction. Asante sana. I would like to appreciate CBEF for funding the study, the KNCCI for assisting in mobilizing key private sector stakeholders, the HERAF for conducting the study, and lastly, the county government that participated in this study for sharing important information. The success of this forum could not have been realized without the input of the panelists, and of course the speakers, other key speakers. May we all live up to the recommendations made and ensure that in the subsequent years of making budgets, the process is going to be all inclusive. Thank you so much for everybody who is in this room, who has taken time and has been patient to be here up to the last minute. Thank you, Laz, for being here with us. Thank you for supporting us, and thank you for supporting the private sector. Long live everyone. Asante.
Tushangilie Kenya, taifa letu tukufu, Kenya tunayoipenda. Tushangilie Kenya, taifa letu tukufu, Kenya tunayoipenda. Kenya yetu tunayoipenda. Twajivunia sana tukijiita wa Kenya, nchi yenye baraka. Twajivunia sana tukijiita wa Kenya, nchi yenye baraka. Kenya nchi yenye baraka. Kenya makao yetu ni nchi ya usalama, kamwe hatutaiacha. Kenya makao yetu ni nchi ya usalama, kamwe hatutaiacha. Kamwe hatutaiacha. Anayependa Kenya ni yule mwenye kutenda haki kwa watu wote. Anayependa Kenya ni yule mwenye kutenda haki kwa watu wote. Haki kwa watu wote. Ukipenda Kenya ujitenge na mambo yenye kuvunja amani. Ukipenda Kenya ujitenge na mambo yenye kuvunja amani. Hatutaki matata Kenya. Hatutaki matata Kenya. Kenya kipenzi chetu, hatutaiacha milele na milele. Kenya kipenzi chetu, hatutaiacha milele na milele. Kenya kipenzi chetu, nchi yenye upendo, hatutaiacha daima na milele. Kenya kipenzi chetu, hatutaiacha milele na milele. Kenya yetu, Kenya kipenzi chetu, hatutaiacha milele na milele. Mama yangu tena ni baba yangu, hatutaiacha milele na milele. Kenya kipenzi chetu, hatutaiacha milele na milele. Kenya yetu, Kenya kipenzi chetu, hatutaiacha milele na milele. Hapa wote wananchi wa Kenya, kutumikia Kenya daima na milele. Kenya kipenzi chetu, hatutaiacha milele na milele. Kenya yetu, Kenya kipenzi chetu, hatutaiacha milele na milele. Mimi ni mwana Kenya daima, nikienda ng'ambo nitarudi. Mimi ni mwana Kenya daima, sitadanganywa kamwe na wabaya. Mimi ni mwana Kenya daima, wala sitapotosha na mabaya. Mimi ni mwana Kenya daima, na nitajenga Kenya nchi yangu. Mimi ni mwana Kenya daima.
Asante sana, mimi ni Mkenya daima. Thank you.
Lakini tukiwa na Yesu,
uko pamoja nasi Yesu, najua umetuita zaidi ya
Atembea naye, atatembea nasi,
atembea na
Hallelujah.
wewe.
Safarini kwa uwezo wake Mola tafika.
Safari ndefu yaanza kwa hatua moja. Wahenga walisema, nikiokoka nachukua hatua ya kwanza ya safari ya mbinguni. Kuna changamoto, kuna panda shuka, lakini kwa uwezo